Well, I got that damn light on the phone again. I could trick it with a flashlight, but I'm not going to make a long video. Of course, I always think that. Got a lot done today, though. But I noticed, it was like 2 or 3 days ago, YouTube in their infinite wisdom deleted a bunch of channels. Thousands and many thousands of videos they took down, claiming they were misinformation. And one of the ones that they took down some videos from the Russian command. You know, they always give their situational thing. And that didn't go over too well. So if they don't watch their ass, they're going to be kicked out of Russia altogether, and that's a lot of money that'd be gone. But they aren't going to put up with, because it's not misinformation. It may be information that YouTube doesn't like, but not misinformation. But at the same time, like today now, just like a half hour ago, I saw a video from some odd channel. You know, there's a lot of bullshit that goes on in these odd little channels. But there was one claiming that the U.S. had seized a Russian oil tanker. Well, it was all nonsense. You know, they make up these stories. I don't know if anybody actually, well, yeah, looking at the comments, some people actually believe it, but then there were some people noticed, well, the helicopter they showed was not a U.S. helicopter, it was a U.K. one, and the tanker was not a Russian tanker, it was Iranian, you know, and God only knows when this was. I mean, this could have been years ago, but they just make up stories, and people are supposed to believe that. Whoa, look at that dog coming in. That never bodes well. No, you go back out. But I'm sure some people fall for that nonsense. Yeah. But, no, that was plainly misinformation. Those are the kind of channels that YouTube should be taking down, but no, they don't. But I did see, too, earlier, one of them spokesmen for the Ukrainian government, you know, they keep pushing, they want to make a complete sanction on this oil from Russia. That, you know, a lot of places have to have that gas from Russia. Well, he was kind of hinting around, say, you know, because there's a lot of those, well, most of those pipelines run through Ukraine, including the one that goes to Hungary. And they're pissy because Hungary won't sanction that oil, because they can't, you know. I mean, they're in that position where they've got to have that oil. And a lot of other countries that are in the EU are kind of relieved, because that takes the strain off them, because they can't sanction that oil. You know, there are a lot of them doing little tricks where it's shipped to one place and then, you know, run back again, and, you know, that nonsense. It's just games they're playing, but they have to do that because they have to have that gas, or it's going to completely destroy Europe, any chance of any industry going on. But this guy from the Ukrainian government was kind of hinting that, you know, those pipelines are kind of vulnerable. You know, we could kind of take out those, you know, he was saying, well, it's not a threat, but, you know, that could happen, you know. Well, I tell you, if that happened, all hell would break loose. You know, right now, Ukraine is to the point where they're pissing off a lot of people in Europe. It's kind of great because they've got all these Europeans fighting with each other. You know, like, well, Poland is kind of mad at Germany because Poland gave all their tanks to Ukraine, and they were supposed to be replaced with tanks from Germany. Well, Germany doesn't have the tanks to replace them. So all these people, all these countries have just drained down their military, pouring it into Ukraine, gets blown up, and then they're scrabbling, trying to get some semblance of a military built up again. And they're having a very hard time of it. Because the Germans said, well, we can only build what we can build, and if they don't have the gas to build, you know. But I think this is going to kind of put the kibosh on the EU because they are all battling with each other. And Poland is more and more thinking Ukraine is going down, and there's a chunk of that land that really belongs to us. And of course, Ukraine wants to be buddies with Poland, but that isn't going so hot now. But they're claiming, well, Hungary is going to steal some of Ukraine. It'll be Poland. In the end, I think Poland is going to end up with the whole west side. But, well, it's Polish people there. There might still be a Ukraine, but it's going to be pretty puny. But like I say, they're turning a lot of people against them. You know, as much as these countries have kicked in equipment, and it's never enough. They're never satisfied. They want more and more and more. You know. But it's, like I say, it's to the point now where these countries are running out of stuff for themselves. And even us, I mean, we gave them so much stuff that's going to take many years to rebuild a stockpile again of those javelins and whatnot. Not that they made a hell of a lot of difference there. Well, you listen to Ukraine, they did, but in actuality, you know, you'll see there again. You'll see videos. Oh, they're taking out this and they're taking out there, just raising holy hell. But no, in reality, they're not. In reality, a lot of that stuff gets blown up or gets captured by the Russians. You know, I don't know how they could do this to make it any worse for themselves. But it's gotten to the point where, you know, I think, you know, if they were, you know, because even now they're talking, oh, we can't, you know, there's no suing for terms of peace unless Russia is willing to give up everything they're occupied, including Crimea. Well, that just is not going to happen. It's funny, I should have brought out, I have a 100-ruble banknote from 2015. You know, it's worth like $1.60 or something, you know, that's what a ruble. But the banknote itself is a kind of commemorative thing of when Crimea was reabsorbed with Russia. You know, they're there to stay. There's no way in hell they're pulling out of Crimea. And they aren't pulling out of the Donbass either. You know, Ukraine's only hope for any semblance of a country being left after this, you know, because their only hope is if they could come to a conclusion very quickly and try to hang on to Odessa. Because otherwise they're going to be a small, landlocked, miserable country, and that's just the way they're heading. But you know, you can't tell them that. They're gonna beat them any day now, though they're getting trounced day after day. But if you listen to the news, you know, oh yeah. Though even that's changing. Our mainstream news, even, the people are just getting sick of dealing with Ukraine. But we got enough on our plate. We don't need to be dealing with that too. But they don't want to quit. There's still a few Ukrainians alive, so they're going to keep going at her. That's going to be ugly. And all of these Ukrainians that pulled into, well, all over Europe, that ain't working out very hot for them either. You know, because all these other countries in Europe have got enough problems trying to come back from this COVID nonsense, and then to have to deal, they were already dealing with a lot of immigration from southern countries, and now to deal with these Ukrainians, and evidently they're not the easiest to get along with. I saw someplace where there were some, I don't remember what country this was in, where they had the signs up on the outside of the store, no Ukrainians allowed. You know, they don't even want them coming in the store. There was a funny thing that I didn't realize this, and I believe this was Denmark that was doing it, with all these immigrants coming from other countries. In the past, you know, they have a policy that when they immigrate into their country, they have to give up all of their jewelry. And if you have any gold or whatnot, you know, you have to surrender that. That's part of the fee. Yeah. Well, when these Ukrainians started coming in, they changed that policy. You know, that's the only reason I heard about it, because they actually had changed the policy, that they were actually allowing the Ukrainians to keep their jewels. Well, you know, a lot of them, countries like in Africa and stuff, they'll, your wealth, you know, your dowry, so to speak, you wear it. You know, you have it with you at all times, and here you pull into this other country and they're confiscating all that. Well, it seemed like a harsh thing, but they said, well, they didn't have to do that with the Ukrainians, because these Ukrainians were clean, white people like us. They thought, whoa, that's a hell of a thing to say. But they were letting them keep their jewels. But odd policy. You know, and I would think that would have been mentioned before, because I'm sure it came as quite a shock that some of these people come in and all of a sudden you got to give up, you know, all your personal possessions like that, just as a fee, so to speak. But not a Ukrainian. They're civilized. Well, it's been a boom for the sex trade, I guess, in all these European countries. You know, the men are still back there getting killed off. Women come over to Europe and they're turning tricks. It's a hell of a thing. But I think, like, even in Ireland, they took a bunch of them into Ireland, and all of a sudden all of the public housing is being taken up by Ukrainians. So the regular Irish, they're just out on the street. You know, nobody's social system is set up to handle such a thing. And then, you know, you're changing the whole makeup of the country in a drastic way. make my supper and call it a day. I got all my corn planted. That was a good start. But there's still more stuff to plant. Pumpkins and whatnot. And I planted a bunch of sweet corn, but also broom corn. You know, now it's mostly sold as a ornamental, but I actually want to replace my broom, or remake my broom. So I thought, well, I'll plant some, get ahead again on that. And it does get a lot of seed on it. That might be good feed, because you got to comb the seed out anyway. Oh, the dog is getting anxious. It's coming back in. He's held on a tripod, you know. Oh, I got a chicken. One of my barred rocks is sitting on eggs. He just started, so what, 21 days? Should get some chicks out of that. But I better not count these chickens before they hatch. You could have something raise holy hell with a nest, but I think there's about 20 eggs under there, so. And I do like the barred rock chickens. But I'm getting ahead on eggs anyway, so good to have her sitting on them. But normally, like now, I start, when you get a lot of egg production going on, start making up egg noodles and drying them, because then I can pack them in quart jars and store them for in winter when they aren't laying. Though, like last year, by the time my regular chickens were quitting laying, the pullet started laying, so I was in pretty good shape, all the time. Never got short of eggs, never had to buy eggs. But that's the scheme. Buy as little as you have to. Well, I guess I got capacity for one more. But I think I'm ready to wind this one down, and this might be killing my battery having that light on. And I got to get to work on this head, but I ordered some parts, some valve grinding stones, so I can grind the valves on this. I thought, well, I could bring it over to my brother's and grind it there, but I don't care for his grinder. It's a KO one, and the grinder has got a, it's on, and then you got to click it again to get it to go off. I like to be able to hit it, that momentary thing, that staying on, it gets a little out of hand on you. And you don't want to grind them seats down any more than you have to. And the seats on this, the valves are rather large, so they're too big to use the carbide set that I have. So I ordered a set, well, it's like a knockoff of a Sioux set. I've got a Sioux driver, but I ordered the pilots and the stones that are in theory, there's no standardization, like the Black & Decker ones are different, the Sioux are different, the KO is altogether different. So you got to kind of know what you got, but I'm used to using Sioux, so I figured, well, I'll go with them. But they're made in India, and they're kind of a knockoff of the Sioux. So we'll see how that looks. But like I say, India is a booming economy. India is doing a hell of a lot of manufacturing, and the quality is pretty good. It's better than the Chinese stuff. So I'm thinking they might be all right. But there again, we're in a little bickering with India because India is kind of buddy-buddy with Russia, and for a good reason. You know, they do a lot of business back and forth. And we got pissed at it because they bought the S-400 missiles from Russia, which we really don't like. It's funny, you know, like a lot of these European countries gave up their S-400s or even the 300s, gave them to Ukraine, where they promptly got blown up. Now they're squawking. They're supposed to be replaced with Patriot missiles from us. Well, that ain't working out for them. And plus, if you get into the Patriot system, then you get the U.S. crew to run them, because, you know, you can't just throw in a new missile system and expect it to work. It has to be trained personnel. So that's the foot in the door again. Well, I guess this has been longer than I thought, but I think this thing in Ukraine is going to wind down a little, but it's to the point, you know, where those Ukrainians aren't going to see sense. I mean, they could save what's left of their country if they were smart, and they could maybe hang on to Odessa, but they're going to screw around, they're going to lose Odessa too, and then they are really screwed. So like right now they're claiming they can't ship wheat out because Russia's blockading them. Russia isn't blockading them. The problem is that they went and mined the port in Odessa with old antique Soviet mines that they had laying around. They've been doing all kinds of tricks with these old mines, but they put them out there in the harbor, and they broke loose. A lot of them are floating all over the Black Sea. You know, so the shipping that's in Odessa can't leave, can't dare leave, so they're stuck. But it's funny, you know, they said, oh, starvation. Well, Russia said, you know, lift the sanctions, we get wheat, we'll sell the wheat. You get a bumper crop. They're perfectly happy to sell it. And that was some damn fool saying, they wanted to have like a convoy system with, like, NATO ships were supposed to protect these, and I don't think Turkey would even let them in there, into the Black Sea in the first place. And Russia said, we got no interest. Ships leaving Ukraine loaded with grain, that is not a problem. It's ships coming in loaded with weapons. They ain't going to tolerate that. Yeah, the dog is getting anxious. So I better wrap this up. Finish this off. Make supper and call her a day. Well, I put that rest of the six-pack down below because that vampire beer, if the sun hits her, she will go bad. Yeah, I'll come. Bob will call it a day.